get into this.
Let's do it.
So first, I think we need some context because this isn't your first foray into entrepreneurship, right? Or your first company. You've actually had some really great success previously, including a great exit. So you want to share a bit more about that before we get into what Mosh is?
Yeah, I mean, a little
Close
bit.
to, yeah.
Yeah, okay, this is probably better for you guys. But yeah, my name is Patrick Schwarzenegger. I'm the CEO, the founder of Mosh, which is our new brain health CPG brand. But I've been in the kind of better for you health and wellness space for the past, 10 years now. And it really just kind of started out of being a struggling consumer. 10 plus years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't have all these different healthy food and beverage brands and offerings that we have today. And my dad was obviously a former bodybuilder, actor, and we didn't have Reese's Puffs in our pantry. We didn't have Fruit Loops and ice cream and bagel bites and toaster strudels.
So
and
he actually does practice what he preaches.
He does. And we didn't have any of that. And so when my parents split up and I moved out of my house end of high school and I started buying my own groceries, I was like a really struggling consumer, and I was looking for these things that still tasted great yet had better nutritional value. And that's when I really fell in love with trying to find these other entrepreneurs that were out there that were tackling this opportunity. And at that time, when I was in high school, there was a company called Blaze Pizza, and they were positioning themselves as the healthier Domino's, the Subway for pizza. And so I invested in that and grew that company from 0 to 400 stores. And it was a perfect, ideal situation. But besides the exit, the biggest learning for me was I actually had my own franchise stores. And what happened was on the Blaze Pizza side, we had long-term partnerships with Coca-Cola, specific water companies, specific chip companies, all this stuff that would pay for advertising dollars to be in our stores. And our customers didn't want it anymore. They didn't want the Lay's chips. They didn't want Aquafina water, Dasani. They wanted Smart Water. They didn't want Lay's. They wanted baked chips. They wanted kettle chips. They didn't want just LaCroix. They wanted Spindrift. And so I saw this kind of consumer shift, and I decided to sell out of Blaze and take all the money and put it towards specifically young entrepreneurs that were tackling this kind of better for you health and wellness space. So that's where we are today. All of the companies are serving that specific thesis. So, Blaze is the healthier Domino's, Liquid IV is the healthier Gatorade, Super Coffee is the healthier Starbucks Frappuccino, Olipop or Poppy is the healthier soda, so on and so forth.
That is so smart and so obvious. It's like one of those things you go, why didn't I think about that? That is really awesome. It stumbled in, but it kind of found you as well. How do you find the balance between what you become a founder in and what you invest in? Because it seems like some of those were investments, and I'm sure you still do that.
Yeah, it was always I kind of looked at it as like a 30-year vision for me. The first 10 years was trying to prove my concept. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing as an investor. I just thought, oh, this is a cool company, and let me get involved. Through, the hands-on process of doing that, I got to learn a lot. Once Blaze exited and Liquid IV exited, and I saw these companies growing from 0 to $200-300 million of revenue, I thought I was going to get extremely rich, and I realized I owned 0.5% of the company. So I thought, you know what, I might as well go out there and phase 2 will be, how do I start our own companies in-house? And right now is phase 2. So how do we incubate brands that are in emerging segments, and we own 90+% of equity?
Yeah, that's really smart. So let's talk about that company, Mosh. How you came up with the concept, what it is exactly, what are you building?
Yeah, so for Mosh specifically, basically, like I said, I wanted to do this phase 2, which was how can we go and find an emerging category and then create a brand in-house? How do we go from ideation into making it into become a reality using our resources that I've learned through my past companies, the same branding agencies, the same website creators, the same operators, same co-mans. So much of the time spent in the beginning of a creating of a company, people can spend a year, 2 years, 3 years, et cetera, formulating, getting all these different pieces of the puzzle together. And I had the benefit of working with so many great people that it was all kind of already together before. The main thing for me was finding something that was a real mission or a real problem that we were trying to address that spoke kind of true to my heart and true to my family's. And my mom has been in the Alzheimer's awareness space for 20 plus years. She lost her father to Alzheimer's. Her father was diagnosed to Alzheimer's in 2003. And at that time, there was absolutely no research done on the female brain. Yet females were 2/3 of the cases of Alzheimer's. They're 2/3 more likely to get any sort of dementia or brain-related diseases. And Alzheimer's is one of the least funded, things out there compared to.
I didn't even know about the female. They weren't looking into the female brain.
Yeah, and so they did no research to the female brain, not even for rats. I mean, it was male rats, it was male brains, and over 90% were white men as well. So she started the Women's Alzheimer's movement, which specifically focused on, raising money and research towards the female brain. And over the past 20 years, she's been working on that. And one of the leading pillars and leading causes towards degenerative brain health is obviously diet and is obviously food. And so when COVID came around, I moved back home with my mom, probably like a lot of other young people. And she kind of kept talking about, wanting to do a food company that spoke to brain health, that was mission driven, that raised money for Alzheimer's, that was a B Corp, and all these different things. And one morning, she's a protein bar fanatic, addicted. She gives it up for Lent every year. If you're Catholic, you know what Lent is. And
Jew, but I still know what Lent is.
Yeah.
He saw my eyes. He's like, you know what I'm talking about?
And she would take these vitamins with her bar every morning. And she just said, I wish that I had all this stuff in one thing. And I said, okay, why don't I make that for you? Brain health, cognitive decline is one of the fastest growing trends in CPG. And I'm living with you. I can make your vision come true. And this is exactly what I wanted for myself and for my career path for the next phase. So that's how Mosh was born.
That's amazing. How great is that story? That is really cool and so needed. And I love just I think we all love a good mother-son story. I think all of us wish our kids, well, I don't have a kid yet, but would still love us to work with us, right? Because that could be difficult.
Yeah, it's probably the most fulfilling thing. Everybody wants to make their parents proud. Everyone wants their parents to be proud of them and to be excited by what they're doing in life. And whether you think that or not, it's ultimately something that drives our decision making in life. And to make my mom's dream become a reality and watching how happy and excited she gets, and yet I get to learn everything on the inside from operating a business, it's a win-win.
I love that. So how did you go from the concept to then the product and obviously moving into marketing and building the social following, all that? Let's walk through some of that.
Yeah, so we started the company, we launched it exactly 1 year ago. We formulated and worked on the actual product for over a year before that. We worked with some of the top brain health experts, specifically Dr. Uma Naidu, who's the leading brain health expert at Harvard. And then the Women's Alzheimer's movement paired with the Cleveland Clinic. So we had access to some of the top brain health experts. And it's really infused around the central force that sugar is one of the main culprits to degenerative brain health. And so it's all centered around low sugar slew of products. Our first one is the Brain Bar. And then our hope and our goal is for the next 3 to 5 years is to create other product lines that speak towards brain health, all centered around low sugar, or no sugar, I should say.
So important. Was it hard to launch a company during the pandemic, and how did you go about doing that?
Yes, it's the pandemic. It allowed a lot of people, I think, to refocus what they were doing in life, to reevaluate what are the passions that they have. Is what they're doing day to day fulfilling their life? Is where they're living day to day fulfilling their life? Is the cost of living worth where they're staying? All these different things. So the beautiful thing is a lot of people got to start companies, right? Money was pretty cheap. People were starting left and right. People were throwing money at different brands everywhere. That's totally changed in the last few months. But so it was extremely difficult in the sense of buying peanut butter or nuts or, sunflower lecithin or something like that used to be 3 to 4 days to 1 to 2 weeks, then 3 to 4 weeks. Now it's 12 weeks plus. So the biggest constraint on a company today is mostly cash conversion cycle, right? We today have to buy our products 12 weeks in advance. We have to put 50% of our money down. You don't see that money back for 3 to 4 months. So that was probably the biggest hurdle right now, that as well as supply chain, which I'm sure you've heard about. And I would say those are the biggest hurdles.
And where did the name come from? Did that contribute to anything?
Yeah, it's my mom's initials.
Oh, yeah.
Mosh, Maria Owing Shriver Health. So.
Okay, that makes sense. See, who would have known? You know what?
Who would have known?
It's an insider thing.
I knew. Yeah,
you knew.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, so once you had the product and you're like, okay, this works, or, this has been given the stamp of approval, how did you get in, what was your approach to marketing and getting those consumers, including, as we know, with like iOS and like the buys on Instagram and Facebook, and like being difficult as well?
Yeah, I did. Mosh is a very unsexy company in the sense of we don't market to the millennial generation. We're not here at Founder Made. We don't do many, I'm here, but, we're not speaking to the audience that 99% of brands are speaking to. We're 80-something% of our consumers are 42 to 70 years old. They're people that care about, brain health. People that are my age, that are in some of the younger generation, we want everything now. We want a pill that's going to fix our brain when we're older. We don't really care about things that are longer term. We care about how do we focus more today? How do I get an energy drink that has caffeine to make me energized now? How do I take melatonin to make me sleep now? How do I take something to make me relax now? And the older generation, the baby boomers, they care about things, what they can do today that'll impact their brain health tomorrow, next year. So for us, we have a totally different marketing strategy. We speak to a different audience. And the beautiful thing is that a lot of times parents have more income than the kids. They're oftentimes the people that are buying for the households and that are buying items for their kids. So we actually do get a cross-generational factor from that. And the main way we were able to really target our audience was through newsletters, email, etc., versus a lot of people are more reliant and dependent on Instagram or something like that.
But yet, like the marketing, even that hat, which is part of the brand, it still feels like cool and young.
No, it's supposed to be cool and young and make you not feel scared about talking or eating or taking something for brain health, but we're not geared towards 18 to 30-year-olds.
So interesting, because when I looked into the company and I knew I was going to interview you, I was like, oh, I'm into mental health, but that does connect to brain health. Like, can you talk about the intersection right now? I do think there's obviously a lot of, that's a trend. Yeah. And I'm almost 40, and I actually do think about brain health. I think about like, I get, brain farts or like, brain haze or whatever.
Yeah, brain fog became a big thing during COVID, right? I mean, a lot of people had, brain fog. They sat at the computer for 8 hours straight on Zoom, and that's what I'm saying. People wanted things that were going to help them stay focused longer or, relax at the end of the day and all these different things. But, I mean, look, brain health, mental health, it's towards the same idea. I mean, what we do specifically is raise money for Alzheimer's. That's specifically for brain-related diseases. We're mission-focused towards Alzheimer's. That's what we raise our money for.
For all those, watching right now and here, since you have launched successful brands and products, and now this, what tips do you have? Like let's get some knowledge drops here in terms of launching a CPG brand.
Yeah, I mean, I would really not like to talk about myself the whole time. So if someone has questions or
we won't go. Yeah, we're gonna go to some questions.
Yeah, I don't know.
This will be the last question here,
great.
And then we'll go to a Q&A.
Well, I just want to talk. If there's something that's helpful for anybody out there, then I'm happy to talk about it. I'm not the wizard by any means. I've had failures in companies as well, so they've not all been rosy and golden. We've had very successful companies, like I've said. Blaze grew from 0 to 400 stores and became a multi-$100 million company. So did Liquid IV, so did Super Coffee, so on and so forth. you know, I wasn't the CEO at those companies, so I can't take responsibility for any of that. You know, they all had their own, you know, leader and entrepreneur that was responsible for hiring the team and the growth that were responsible for the results. I believed in their mission. They had an overall large vision. And I really truly believed that America was changing with their diet, that they cared about protein, that they cared about less sugar, and that science was changing and allowing ingredients and things to taste very similar and just as delicious without all the nutritional crap that came with it. And by the way, without sacrificing too much on the price side. You know, we live in LA, that's very skewed. I always, whenever I test a product, I always test it with my girlfriend. She's from Alabama. Her family is extremely working class. And I tend to never invest into a product that is solely for Los Angeles or New York or the coastlines that have a higher income.
Yeah, that's the issue. I think if you really want to make a dent, you need to make it more accessible. Yeah. Or else then you're just like marketing it to your friends in your bubble at Coachella or something like that. Right? Like that's, I mean, maybe that makes you cool in LA, but it's like, is that really cool? I don't know. Where do you see the future of Mosh and what you're building?
Yeah, the future of Mosh, how does it become a $100 million brand is not off bars. You know, we're not a protein bar company. We're not a superfood company. We're a brain health platform. So how do we continue to build product lines that speak towards brain and body health, whether that's gummies, whether that's supplements, whether that's powders. I'm not believing in a brain health bar. I'm believing that customers and people are going to start to think about brain health in a different way than they did 20 years ago. So that's my long-term vision for it. That's my long-term goal for it. It's gotten propelled through COVID, the conversation about brain health and mental health and cognitive functionality. And that's where I'm going to continue to go.
What are you needing right now? You know, I always say, like, as an entrepreneur and someone who has a company, what are your biggest needs right now? Because who knows, maybe there's someone out there listening or watching that there might be a connection.
The biggest need for any company right now is coming up is going to be capital. I mean, it's, like I said, the cash conversion cycle for anybody out here who's worked at a business or who's run a business, you know what it means. I used to literally put $100,000 down and I would get 200,000 bars 4 weeks later, and then I could sell those. Now I have to put $100,000 down. I don't receive those raw materials or my completed product for 12 or 14 weeks. So I don't see a return on that capital for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That's detrimental to a company. So you know, rates are obviously increasing as well. So to borrow money is not cheap. You're seeing double-digit returns. That's going to cripple companies. It's going to make them not be able to build off the landscape of 3, 4, 5, 10, the last 10 years, which was, it doesn't matter if we're not first order profitable. It doesn't matter how much money we're losing on our first orders. We can go and spend money at Facebook, Instagram, acquire customers, build our top line. That's done. It just won't work for the next few years.
I'm really worried it's going to stifle innovation as well, right? And like the people obviously that have money will be able to do it, but then you have so many people that have so many great ideas that I just like, I want to make sure that they're supported. But yeah, we're going through a really weird time, you know? But it's important to keep building, as I say, and keep collaborating and co-creating. So I do want to go to some questions. Does anyone have a question? We could get the mic to you. Oh, yes. I mean, I could jump off the... No.
Here, just...
Take my money. Hi. Thanks, Megan.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Hey, I'm Anthony. And what I was going to ask you is you invest in so many different types. Outer, Mosh, you invest in all different types of companies. What are you looking for as an investor when you're putting money into something?
So outer furniture is an extreme outlier. 95% of my companies are all in the better for you health and wellness space. They have to be offering the newer, better version of what was out there in a growing and emerging marketplace. So there's got to be a large total addressable market. There's got to be a lot of customers in that space, yet there hasn't been any new innovation in that. Coffee was the fastest growing CPG brand segment in the world a couple years ago. No one was tackling Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks Frappuccinos, etc. The newest people were Chameleon Cold Brew, 6 years ago. Cold Brew started like 6-7 years ago in the marketplace, really. So I just went out to find who was tackling that, but offering the less sugar version of it. And that's how I found Super Coffee. And so on and so forth with that. So all of my investments are in that space. Outer is the only one of the only examples that's not that, and Tecovas boots are pretty much them. Outer, I'll tell you what. Outer, this guy, Jake, he got a hold of me on LinkedIn, and he would not stop bothering me. And he just kept sending messages and kept sending messages. And this was years ago. I didn't even have that impressive of a portfolio then. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. So finally I said, you know what? Yeah, I'll go to coffee with you. And so I went to coffee with him, and he set out this insane vision. And his family owned factories in China, and he had his whole life was spent in distribution and manufacturing of furniture. And he showed me this whole thing about why outdoor furniture was the biggest growing trend, and the search cases for how many people were searching for outdoor furniture and all this stuff. I know nothing about furniture, absolutely nothing. I bought some furniture for my house. I realized how expensive outdoor furniture was, what a pain point it was. It was terrible. It got dirty fast. I didn't want to go and clean it. I gave up on outdoor furniture. This guy just kept talking and talking and just spelled out the most beautiful vision that I had ever seen. And I just looked at the guy and I just said, wow, all you do is think about furniture. And he was like, yeah, this is where my family grew up. This is what I know, everything I know. And I said, okay, you know what? I know nothing about furniture. I'm betting on you. And I wrote him a check. COVID happened. I said, you know what? I can kiss that money goodbye. I can use that as a tax write-off. It was the top 10 fastest growing direct consumer company in the world in terms of percentages during COVID. The guy just ran from Sequoia close to $300 million. He's doing $70 million of outdoor furniture. Again, nothing to do with me. I know nothing about it. But the entrepreneur, he had this very clear vision of where he wanted to go, lived, breathed, died on the idea of his vision, and would do anything possible to get it done. So all in all, across all of my investments, I always try to bet on the jockey, on the entrepreneur behind the mission, because in the end of the day, we can sit behind a computer and crunch the algorithm and all the different CACs and LTVs and AOVs about the company, but if you don't believe in the person that's running the company, or the contractor that's building your house, or the teacher that's teaching you, then what's the point? And that was just a pure bet on him and his mentality. And same with the Super Coffee guys. I mean, when I tried their product, they were sub $1 million in revenue. Now they're doing over $100 million of revenue. The product was terrible. I mean, they brought it to me and I could not drink the product.
No way.
It had so much stevia. This was before monk fruit. This was before allulose, before erythritol. It was so bad. And I told that to them. 4 a.m., I got a message from the main brother. If you know Super Coffee or anybody knows on them or you follow them, they don't sleep. They work out for 10 hours a day and they're in the office for the other 14 hours a day. I don't get it. They messaged me at 4 a.m. and I came down that morning, I was staying in New York, and I had a new sample of a product with less stevia in it. And I just said, you know what, these guys are animals, they don't stop. And I just bet on them as these three, you would think, fraternity brothers that just drank coffee all day long and lived, breathed, and eat coffee, and I just bet on them. I don't know if that answers your question, but it really is just betting on the jockey.
Those are such good stories. Any other questions?
Any other questions? I have a question. Oh wait, unless, but then if somebody else. So Patrick, you're unbelievably humble and lovely. I just am like completely always just blown away even by this conversation. But one question I have for you is mindset, because there's a lot of people in your position that to decide to not do any, like not keep building, not keep pushing. And again, like what is your mindset? How do you like reinforce that every day?
What's your mindset? She says you're very humble.
Oh, thank you.
And lovely. And
Jeez.
she's like,
Great mom, apparently. Amazing mom.
Yeah. A lot of people ask that to me. They say your mom's successful, your dad's successful. Couldn't you just not work, I guess? If anybody knew my dad, he's the least, doesn't believe in handouts. He grew up in post-World War II Austria, and his parents, he had to escape the army to try to go to the gym. And then he found someone to believe in him and to pay for him to move to America. And so he doesn't believe in handouts per se. He's very hardcore. Used to wake us kids up every morning at 6 a.m. We had 3 minutes of hot shower. If we didn't make our bed, he would take away our covers. If we didn't turn off the lights in the house, we didn't get any more. He would unscrew the light bulbs. So it was very much about routine and dedication in our household. And he made it very clear. He said, you're not getting any money. If you want to get money, you can get money at the local interest rate. I'm happy to supply that, or else you're going to get taxed on income as a gift, and you'll have to pay that, and you don't have money to pay that, so you're going to be in debt. And that was always his thing. That's a harsh way to look at things all the time, but he was very adamant about teaching us about business, about life, he would always say, your teachers in school aren't going to tell you about tax returns. Let me teach you about that. They're not going to teach you about, things to operate your house. What are property taxes? What are your utility bills? What are all of these different things? And the biggest lesson that I got from him was I started to get really interested in business, and he would take me every weekend to do a lemonade stand. And he bought me for a gift when I was younger, one of those remote control, those toy cars that you would drive in, as like a kid, if you're a bougie kid. And he got me a pickup truck version so that I could have the back of it. I could put a picnic table in it for my lemonade stand company. And he would teach me about what it would cost to go and buy lemons, Crystal Geyser packs, if you remember those, the little K-cups of Crystal Light, how much that cost, how much you'd put it in the water, and then what wholesale was, what retail was, how you mark it up. And anyways, it started me young with this business mindset, and I got so obsessed with business, and I became so passionate about it that it's just what I live and breathe each and every day is that. And doesn't matter how successful I'll be, people will say it's because of my parents. If I'm unsuccessful, people will say you didn't work because your parents are wealthy. If I become a drug addict, they'll say that's classic Hollywood. If I become successful, they'll say it's because at some point in my life, I have to not worry about what other people think and go out and do what I'm passionate about. Is this the most lucrative thing I could do in my life? No, but is this the thing that I have the most fun towards? And I'm an active consumer in this space, and it's the biggest pain point and problem that I was seeing when I was in high school, and that's why I went into it. Yeah, so I love it.
Oh, that was amazing. And on that note, I feel like anything else you need to share?
Oh.
That was a great ending to this. Any final words, Patrick? I mean,
No,
I
I don't know
appreciate
if
your
anybody
honesty and
has-
sincerity.
Yeah, I'm an open book. I'm I'm always open to help anybody or talk about whatever. Again, I don't know everything at all, but I have worked with a variety of companies over the past 10 plus years, ranging from, the ideation phase into becoming a reality, from 0 to 100 million plus in revenue. And I have learned a lot. We've made tons of mistakes. And the whole thing is, how can I help someone else not make the same mistakes that we have? I'll continue to make mistakes for sure.
Of course.
And better you learn off my dime than your dime. So I'm an open book and come and learn. So.
Well, thank you so much. Give it up for Patrick Schwarzenegger, everyone. That was like Founder Made TED Talk right here. Go check out Mosh. Where's Mosh online everywhere? Instagram? They're only online. Are you going to be going to retail at all?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you, Patrick,
Thank you.
again. We so appreciate it. Again, Patrick Schwarzenegger, everyone.